Hey, it's Pete. There was a subject I wanted to cover a couple weeks ago, but then it seemed like old news. It was the horrendous death of the pocket size paperback. The In the United States they call it the mass market paperback. In the UK they call it the A format. I'm really going to miss it. I think that's what I'm planning at this point in titling the video. I will miss the old pocket size mass market paperback. It was my favorite format. So convenient, the most convenient type of book ever invented uh, before ebooks. And there were a lot of videos about it. Michael Cavan did one. I want to say I have an idea of someone else who did one, but I don't want to mention it in case I'm wrong. I'll put some in the comments so you can all be sad with me. I do read on ebooks most of the time, as I always mention, but if they have a few drawbacks, a few minor drawbacks, not major drawbacks, but it's just, the passing of time, whatever. There was a video today, and this is what made me decide I'm going to go ahead and do a video anyway. There was a video from Ollie Criminali uh, about with a subject he thinks is going to be controversial. I think only one part of it he thinks is going to be controversial. I'll link to that too. But he enjoys it's. He goes over his reasons for enjoying buying used books. And those are my favorites too, for many reasons, most of which he mentioned. I'll link to that, as I said. One thing he talks about a lot is the writing in the books. He likes the writing, the highlights, the different things that previous readers have done in the books. And to a degree, I agree with him. I agree with everything else he said. To a degree, I agree with him too. There are some books that are just so overly highlighted, but I usually don't end up buying those. What I'm going to miss about old books, some of these books are getting up on 75 years old now. I think that they really, the mass market book came into vogue in the after World War II. So in the 50s, um, they are falling apart. I don't have a mass market here. I do have a paperback that I bought a week or two ago here in Cuenca, Ecuador. There's a bookstore here that has a Facebook page, and they every week they'll put up their new that their new acquisitions. It's a used bookstore, and they'll do one. They'll do a table full of all the English books they got. It's in a neighborhood where a lot of foreigners live, where I live, and then another table of Spanish language books. And then they'll often have a table of just other languages that came into. They do get some French and German books and stuff like that. And I saw this, and I have for a book club type thing for March on the Rails. We are reading as a group Paul Theroux's book, The Great Railway Bazaar. I saw this. I thought it was, and I didn't check the title very closely. I thought this was the book we were going to read. I mean, in other words, I thought this was the Great Railway Bazaar on the face. I couldn't get back to the Facebook page and find it, so I went in and asked the guy there, a young kid working there that day, if he could find it. He helped me look around. Once I realized it was not the right book, but I bought it anyway because I made him look for so long for it. Also, I'm going to read it because this takes place in South America, and it's a follow up to the Great Railway Bazaar, which I'm not enjoying in any way. No, I'm enjoying it in some ways, but I don't like Paul Theroux as a person, which is kind of a stickler in a memoir, a travel memoir. You kind of got to like the person to some degree. I don't need to like the person to read a novel. It's just a different kind of experience for me. I don't have to like Hank Chinaski to enjoy reading a Charles Bukowski novel, which is probably 99% factual. But anyway, um, and what I want to say about old books, used books, and especially old paperbacks, is the things I love about them that really cannot, that ebooks cannot compete with. And one is and I would categorize them all under the category of, um, listen to me categorizing things in categories. Anyway, I would say the personality. The one thing about ebooks is they don't have individual personalities like physical books do. When you pick up a physical book, this book here is, for example, and this is, I'm only using this because the only example I have. You probably can't see it, but it's all taped. This book has been read many times, been repaired. You know, it's a traveler's book. It's a English language book. This edition is a UK edition. There's no US price on it, so it was published in the as a UK Penguin, then later distributed to Australia. This is a printing from 1979. It's got the UK price of $7.99, which I think at the time the UK, because I went, that's when I first made my first trip abroad, was 1979 after graduating high school. I think the US dollar was really strong against the pound. So I'm thinking this was probably $10. I don't know what it is today. Probably still about $10. Um, Used books are more expensive outside. In my experience of travelers, used books are more expensive than you get them in the States where you can get them for nothing. This would probably be, well, it's changed a bit in the last few years, but I would actually expect to pay no more than $4.50 for this. But it was $7, but I bought it anyway because I really wanted to read it. It's all bent up, it's falling apart. I'm really pleased by the tape because it's going to hold together for reading. It's all yellow around the side. People talk about the smell of old books and people ridicule that, but it does smell like a book, which I am not ashamed to say I like. It's got stains, it's got a personality. It's got a map. Now, ebooks have maps too, but you gotta page back to them. It's not as easy as flipping back. This is another thing that's controversial about ebooks, the defenders of ebooks, and I do count myself as a defender of ebooks. Um, don't want to believe or don't believe, but there are studies that indicate that people retain more information from a book. They retain the book better when they read a physical copy versus an electronic copy. And I think some of the reasons for that is a ebook is very navigable by buttons and sliding and this and that, but you're really only seeing a page at a time. Book like this, you can flip through it, you can get a sense of it. If you're starting chapter 7, it was a brutal city, but at 6 in the morning, a froth of fog and doubt it. Okay, now where was he? Okay, he was in Zapica. You can flip back if you missed something easier than you can an ebook. I know they all have shortcuts and things that you can use, but very much ebooks are very much a linear experience. And I've taken, I don't know if this helps or not, I've taken to this as a habit that I've learned over the last a couple of years of ebooks, because it's very easy to tap and tap and, oh, my mind's wandering, got to go back. Where it's a little harder in a book because you have to keep turning the pages. But when I do my reading, which is mostly on ebook now, I do take a second to get set. I remind myself I have to read. I'm going to read now, which is something I never had to do with books before. You can go back in here. You can read other stuff by the same author. There's personality here. There's a different experience based on each cover. In under Criminology's video, I told a story about how I used to have, because he talks about getting to know the people who read the books and things. This one, somebody gave it. Looks, I think this is a couple probably traveling together. So a whole little romantic story here in the front. To Kezer, STDY thrilled. Saturday, I don't know. Thrilled. Love Simon XXX 98. So this actual copy was, like I said, this was published in 1980. That's the most recent printing listed here. 18 years later, somebody read it. Somebody bought it for their partner, their girlfriend, their their traveling companion, and maybe after they'd taken the same train or a similar one. This Patagonia is southern. He goes all through the Americas here, so I'm looking forward to this book because of that, because of the location, which is near where I am, even though these trains probably don't exist anymore. Because of the book I'm reading now, where he's kind of insufferable and kind of a creep, but he writes well enough that that he can keep me reading. I see that in this book he is. I'm seeing from the back here that he is. You know, one of the summary things here that he does is reading nightly to the blind writer Borges in Buenos Aires. So he goes to Buenos Aires. Apparently, he's going to read to Borges, which Borges liked to have because he couldn't read himself. He liked to have his friends and visitors read to him. I'm sure because of Paul Theroux, he just had a terrible time. But I get to look forward to that. But he's kind of a fussy, in my opinion, a fussy and judgmental person. But I can take it. I can suffer through it. And if I don't, I won't. Then another thing I love about the old paper. Uh-oh. No, did I pick the wrong? Don't think I have my pictures on this phone. Darn it. Okay, I'll be back.